Conden muadniey daden, Veshan mamen, daes dalae daishar, Laada culieb, Laada culieb.
And thus we arrive at the final and arguably most important step in recreating Moiraine, this shoulder piece, which she wears ubiquitously throughout season 1 with everything from her travel wear to her outer coats to even over top of her court dress. It is perhaps the most silhouette-defining aspect of her costume. Admittedly, this was also the part of the process I was dreading the most. This is a highly structural piece. The original is made from leather, stiff, sturdy, thick leather, the shapes and silhouette which I had not previously worked with in my own historical reconstruction endeavors. So before I got started, I decided to recruit a little bit of advice.
Hi, my name is Ariel. I am a French costume maker.
Ariel of Hazariel is a fellow costume-making YouTube friend who has tackled this project before and had a few words of wisdom to impart.
I went to fashion school for 2 years, so I learned pattern making. That's how I made the pattern. It's not like a leather technique, no, it's a sewing technique. I'm pretty happy with the pattern, but I think it could be tweaked a little bit. I think you can reduce the size of the shoulders to your liking. It's not that difficult. I mean, technically, it's more like sculpting, you know, you just feel it as you make it. The main challenge was working with the leather that I had, and then you want to buy, because leather is expensive, and the tricky part is mostly because of leather. I think in fabric it would be so much easier. They took a lot of work into making the shoulder parts, which usually in filmmaking, when they film the person up here, so they have to put most of the work on this part of the costumes. So I think that's why they put so much effort in those shoulder pieces. I don't know if you saw them, but they have like at least 3 different ones during the show. They are very similar, but not exactly. I don't know if it's the same about you, but when we saw her in the big blue dress on the first time in the incredible set, and it's just you can't help being just mesmerized. I was debating before, but now I just have to do that.
I decided to use Ariel's pattern as my starting point. This, by the way, is available to download for free in her making of video, which I will link down below for those interested. I've just gone ahead and made a little paper mock-up of this just to test the pattern and see how the fit looks. Paper mock-ups can be really great to test patterns on small structural garments where, you know, muslin is just not going to ever behave like this, basically. I have only so far made one alteration, and that is just down at the side here where I just had to fold this in to make it fit my arm's eye. So far, it looks like this should be okay. As far as materials go, I was having a bit of an existential crisis over the idea of making this from leather. As much as I adore leatherwork as a craft, since this is a costume piece that I'm making purely for funsies and that is in all likelihood probably never going to actually be worn, I felt a bit weird buying full leather hides. I didn't really have enough spare in my own stash and couldn't get cast-offs from a workplace or anything, so I made the decision to reconstruct this jacket out of cloth instead. This fabric that I ended up finding is a wool rayon blend from B&J, which actually ended up working out perfectly. The subtle quilting texture to it is very reminiscent of the hammered leather texture to the original jacket, which was a very happy coincidence. As you can see, it is very, very lightweight. It is very springy. So the plan, of course, is to flatline it with this coutil, which is a really stiff, really tightly woven cotton. So my plan for how this is to work is essentially to flatline this outer fabric with a piece of coutil. There are 9 pieces in this in total, each requiring a top fabric, a coutil interlining, a lining layer, for which I'm just using another piece of the outer blue fabric since I have plenty of it, and each piece is going to get some decorative beading and trimming around the edges. So what I've done is I've just laid out all of my pieces. I decided to line this in the same fabric just because I had enough, might as well. My lining piece, my coutil piece, and my fabric piece. I'm going through and I'm also measuring out exactly how much of the trimmings I need to add, which was a good thing that I did that because I realized I don't have enough of my trimmings. First and foremost, I figured out how much of this zigzag I need to cut. I've also measured out exactly how much of the cord I need. I'm doing 2 rows of cord on all of my pieces. So I have preemptively cut all of my lengths of cord, or most of my lengths of cord, because once again, I do not have enough, so I've just placed an order for more of that. I also went through and I measured exactly, according to my sample, I'm doing about 5 beads per inch. Just gone through and measured around the edges of my pieces here to figure out how many inches and thus how many beads I will need. Realized I am 2 bags of beads short. I only bought 1 and I need 2 more. So all this is well and good. This is still plenty of work that I can get on with in the meantime. What I'm going to start doing is start flatlining the top piece of fabric to the coutil so that I can get started on the trimmings that I do have. But before I do that, I'm going to finish cutting my zigzag. These are actually sheets of pineapple leather that I'm pinking zigzag trimming off of to mimic the triangular punchwork on the original bolero. I had initially bought this to see about the possibility of making up the entire piece with this, but alas, it's not actually very useful. It's very delicate and not at all moldable like leather, but at least it made for very nice trimming. Now we can get started preparing each piece, first by getting the stiffening layer secured into place. This is done by layering a coutil shape, which has been cut net, on the underside of the top fabric layer, folding the seam allowances of this over the coutil and whip stitching these into place all around. These are very large and quick stitches since they will be covered up later. And before I get started on the trimming, I'm first just putting together the short side seam, since I'll want my trimming to pass over this seamlessly. The rest of the pieces are edged all around with trimming, so I don't need to pre-stitch anything for those just yet. And now the decoration. Each piece is edged in 4 stages. The zigzag at the outermost edge, followed by 1 row of waxed cotton cord, then a second row of cotton cord 1/4 inch from the first. Finally, a row of small blue glass beads sits between the cord rows. The beads in the cord are just the same as on the original, only the zigzag trim has had to be adapted for the fabric version since fabric doesn't stamp quite as nicely as leather. This part took up easily 75% of the making process, with each piece taking around 8 hours to complete. The body pieces are much larger, so those each took a full 2.5 days. But honestly, it was work that kept me very good company on commutes, in Zoom meetings, and on many a Netflix binge. So I'm very nearly finished with all of my pieces here, except I've just done a little test fit, but I've realized that when I made the alteration to this piece, I did not make the alteration to this piece. So now this doesn't quite fit nicely here. It's a little bit too long, which means this is going to have to be unpicked so that this can be trimmed down and then re-stitched. Several weeks later, the final component of Moiraine's White Tower look is complete. I am unexpectedly pleased with how this ended up coming out. I wasn't at all certain how it would work, being of such vastly different material from the original. But I was extremely thrilled to find that the coutil structuring turned out to have exactly the right amount of structural integrity to achieve the desired silhouette. So although I had been dreading this portion of the process the most, it actually ended up to be the most fun to work on and kind of my favorite result. Ooh, look at her! Oh my god, it's so cool! Yeah, this one's a lot. I mean, it feels like a jacket, whereas this one feels like a piece of armor. This one looks like, exactly like how I imagine the original looks in real life. So, Ariel has been working on an adaptation of Moiraine's traveling wear. She's brought it here. I had no idea she was doing this, but we have it here. Come, join me. Oh, you have pockets. I didn't know. Brilliant. Oh, it's so cool.
Dramatic, like thinking about it.
dhol sorbe Gaen Rafane al Caldazar lendha maral Inde nolvae disain isharane rahien al
A very special thanks to NordVPN for very kindly sponsoring this video. NordVPN is the fastest virtual private network service to help keep your online browsing safe. A VPN essentially gives you your own personal waygate to reroute your internet activity through an encrypted network, disguising your online identity and keeping your data safe. There are, however, certifiably no Trollocs in these ways, and any attempts by nefarious dark friends to sneak your personal data will be devoured by Machin Chin. But let's be real, the main reason why we all use and love a good, fast, reliable VPN is for the ability to mask your computer's IP address, so streaming sites and research databases don't have the ability to block content based on your geographic location. Want to catch up on trashy Tar Valon reality shows whilst you're in the Two Rivers? No problem! With just the click of a button, you can select from over 60 different non-fictional countries and gain access to a whole new realm of content. That was a joke. You can't actually VPN to Tar Valon. This is purely for non-fictional countries only. Visit nordvpn.com/Bernadette to get a 2-year plan plus 1 additional month for a huge discount.
There would be like the punk Aja, the plaid Aja. We only have the denim and the tie-dye, and I think it could
Oh yeah, that's true.
flow really
that's true.
well.
We are
with
very
it.
like early 2000s.
Yeah. Replace all the beads with the safety pins.
Or those like spikes.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like motorcycle punk Moiraine. Now
Okay,
we're
that would be
drifting
nice.
into very dangerous territory, because knowing the both of us, there's a very good danger that we will actually do this.
It could happen.
What Aja would you be?
I think everyone would be brown, because like it's the Aja of the nerds.
Yes.
Obviously. So I think everyone in here is brown.